Welcome to Dear Daughters of God. My name is Stephanie Eccles. As we approach Independence Day, I've been thinking about gratitude. Not just gratitude for a nation, but gratitude for the blessings that God has given that allow His children to worship Him, seek Him, and follow Him according to the dictates of their own conscience. President Dallin H taught that the United States Constitution is unique because God established it for the rights and protection of all flesh. He reminded us that one of God's great purposes is to preserve moral agency, the ability to choose. Agency is central to God's plan. It is how we learn. It is how we grow. It is how we choose to follow Jesus Christ. As I listened to President Oak's words, I found myself thinking about a scripture in the book of Eccles. King Shule lived in a time when prophets were sent among the people, but many mocked the prophets and rejected their warnings. Instead of silencing the prophets, Shule protected them. The scriptures tell us that he enacted a law giving the prophets freedom to go wherever they wished and preach among the people. And then something remarkable happened. The people repented. They turned away from their sins and idolatries. The Lord spared them. They began to prosper again. And then comes a verse that has stayed with me. Quote, "And there were no more wars in the days of Shule, and he remembered the great things that the Lord had done for his fathers." I love that phrase. He remembered. He remembered God's hand. He remembered the stories. He remembered the miracles. He remembered what the Lord had done for those who came before him. In many ways, that is what we do here at Dear Daughters of God. That is the very purpose of Dear Daughters of God. We remember. We remember the sacred stories of family and faith. We remember the ways God guided our ancestors. We remember the ways He has guided us. And perhaps one of the greatest blessings we can remember this Independence Day is that God has preserved freedoms that allow His children to worship Him, speak of Him, gather in His name, and teach their children about Him. President Oakes has encouraged us to pray for our leaders. I know there have been times when public discourse has felt so contentious and overwhelming, but as I studied the book of Eccles, I began to see things differently. King Shule's example reminded me how important it is that leaders protect all people and that righteousness in leadership matters. It helped me see that even in times of division, God is mindful of His children and His purposes are still moving forward. That realization shifted my heart. Instead of focusing on the contention, I began to feel gratitude. Gratitude that God teaches us through Scripture. Gratitude that He invites us to be engaged in righteous ways. And gratitude that He's not left us without guidance. Prayer is different than politics. Prayer invites God into our concern. Prayer softens hearts. Prayer reminds us that ultimately our trust is not in governments or parties, but in Jesus Christ. This Independence Day, perhaps one of the greatest gifts we can offer is a sincere prayer for our leaders, our communities, our families, and our nation. And perhaps we can also do what King Shule did. We can remember. Remember the great things the Lord has done for our fathers. Remember the great things He has done for us. And remember that every good gift comes from Him. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, may we continue to remember, live, and pass on the sacred stories of family. And may we never forget that because of Him, it is enough.